It's your favorite squirrels, Shy and Lex. It's time for another episode of Black Girl, Brown Girl, Squirrel. Trigger warning. This episode has very brief mentions of self-harm. If you are not in a mental space to safely take in this episode, please protect yourself and your mental health by skipping this episode. We have resources located in the show notes that can assist you during this difficult time. We'll see you next week. And we're back for part 2. And we still have the show bestie with us, Miss Jazz.
What's up?
If you were with us in the last episode, Jazz was talking about bipolar mania. So she texted me and Lex her notes from when she's like in stasis, and then when she goes into into mania.
Yes. So what happened is one time.
That's wild, Jazzy.
So I try and like journal when I'm having a big emotion because I have a tendency to like forget exactly what I'm feeling. And so I try and write down like whatever verbiage I'm feeling in that moment, so then I can look back on it and take it to therapy with me. So in that moment I wrote down, so like I realized this was the time that Lex came home and I was like cooking, cleaning, hanging shelves. The sky was really blue. The sun was bright. I was like blasting, like, I don't know, probably like some K-pop medley, probably the loudest K-pop I could find.
It was.
So Lex was like, "So you think you're manic, friend?" And I was like, "Probably."
That's exactly how it happened. I walked in, I looked around, and I said, "Oh, you know what? I think."
Okay, so can I tell you guys, I am literally sitting here jaw on floor because I'm looking at the writing, and it does not look like the same person. There's like some similarities, but the writing is bigger. It's not sloppy or anything. It's just bigger. It seems like it was written maybe a little bit fast.
Yeah, it's
whereas
sharper.
her so-called normal writing, it's smaller, it's more concise. It's there's definitely a difference between the two.
And so that night before I went to bed, I wrote that the journal entry where I was manic. The very next day I woke up feeling okay, and then like within a couple hours it dipped down into a depressive episode, which is usually how it happens. It happens fast. Like you can Lex has seen it happen. Like you can physically watch me do it.
Wow.
It's a crazy feeling. So
and it's very much impacted by the weather. I watched on a very rainy day. Everything was fine. We were in the car. We were going somewhere. She was fine. We were leaving this place. The weather changed. The sky got cloudy. I watched my friend suddenly decline into what looked like a depressive episode that had been going on for weeks. And I was like, oh, and I was like, so friend, I think that maybe you're doing something the opposite of manic. I'm thinking now you're having a little depressive moment. You're like, I don't know, maybe. And I was like, I think for sure, because you were fine 2 hours ago. Is there anything I can do to help, or is it just we just need to just know this is happening right now and we keep it moving? Will something help? Would some sun help? Would some activity help? And you did land on something, but it's as crazy as it feels. Only crazy probably isn't even a good word to use in this instance. As surreal as it almost feels to watch when you are in a manic episode, it can be equally disheartening to see you go into the depressive episode, because it also has come upon you out of nowhere in the same way you couldn't control when the mania came. You couldn't control when the depression came. But that one, you don't get to have fun and turn your hair blonde and blast music and mop the floor. This one, you just look like everything is terrible and you could just quit.
So Jazzy, is it scary?
That next entry is like once I had slipped back into the depressive episode, and that next one is what my handwriting looks like when I'm kind of like level. So like with medications, I maintain a state of level of like where I'm just like, okay,
It's
Everything's
wild
fine.
because your handwriting looks like it starts off, it's almost like a peak. It starts off here and then it goes here and then it comes back. Like you could literally see when you were going into the mania and then when you came out of it. A serious question though, whether it was before you knew why all of this was taking place or whatever, or even now, is it scary for you to experience this? Or was it ever
Um,
scary?
so I think before I was blissfully ignorant. I just didn't know what was happening. I just thought I'd be a little bit sad. I will say that was so
This was way more than a little bit sad, boo. I'm just saying. I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
saying.
No, it was. I will say that it was it was complicated by grief.
Mm,
Because the onset of bipolar disorder typically is like your late teens to early 20s.
right.
And uh in my I can probably pinpoint the onset of mine to like being my early 20s. Not only was I in nursing school, which I don't it's hard. It's not fun. If you talk to any nurse, I don't think you'll ever meet a nurse that said they had the time of their life in nursing school. It's not a good time. It's a little traumatizing. So, like, going through nursing school wasn't a good time. In addition, like, who my grandparents raised me.
Mhm.
So, during that point, she was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer.
Mm.
Um, so she was going through chemo and dealing with that my entire last year of nursing school. I became one of her primary caregivers, like as soon as I graduated for like 6 months before she passed away. So, um, the peak of my and then complicate that with a bunch of other life stuff that we don't
Right.
need to is a whole nother episode. I think that it got masked a little bit. So
Okay.
I always had a reason for why I was feeling depressed.
Got it.
And then when I would because my mania, I was never doing anything detrimental to myself or others.
Mhm.
Um, it was just, oh, I feel really good today. Like I'm having a good day. And I would take those as wins because I was having so many bad days. And that's what bipolar type 2 really is like unmedicated, you're mostly going to stay depressed. You'll have like a few good days, which is just mania, but you're never going to hit level. And so that's really what I was doing.
Okay.
And I uh, tended to stay functionally depressed um, until I was reaching the point of no longer really being functional, which is thankfully when I was hitting that point, I was already in therapy and in the process of starting to work on getting medication. Well, I hadn't quite gotten meds yet, but I was already in the process of starting to look at therapy.
Mhm.
Um, so once I got a diagnosis, everything just made sense.
Got
So
it.
what did get scary is it takes a while for them to like ramp up meds and get you level again. So like starting meds was a weird experience because with bipolar, they can't just put you on an antidepressant because antidepressants are meant to like bump you up. The way it's designed is to like increase your mood, and it adjusts your chemicals so it increases your mood, right? But if you do that in a person with bipolar, it sends them manic. And
Oh.
uncontrolled, it can make them psychotic. And because I don't deal because my level of mania is never very high, it could become very like it would send me off the deep end faster than it might send someone with like bipolar type 1 because I was never used to that level of mania, right?
Wow.
So for me, for like you have to start that one first. So for like 5 days, I had to take an antidepressant alone. And I felt like somebody had put toothpicks in my eyes for 5 days. I was like having panic attacks.
To
Like,
like keep your eyelids open. It
yes,
felt
they
like your
were like, it
eyelids
felt like my
like open.
eyeballs were like glued open. Like somebody was like
Oh,
literally holding my eyeballs open. I could barely sleep. I was having panic attacks, just like trying to put my clothes on. And that's just because the medicine was just like waking me up from the depression. But because of the bipolar, it was just sending me like in, as you always say, Shy, into the stratosphere. Like it was just like shooting me like way. It just like with with bipolar, it just like way overcorrects you. It like overshoots it. So then you have to also be
Wow.
on a mood stabilizer.
Yeah.
So I'm on something to bring me up and then to level me out. So then I
Jeez.
started the mood stabilizer and suddenly I was brought back down. And so then for a couple weeks, I was walking around feeling like, all right, everything's fine. I just feel kind of numb and I don't know. And I remember asking Lex, I was like, yo, so like, is this what regular people feel like? Like, nothing's exciting? Like, is you just run around being like this? And she was like, probably. I don't know.
None of us know what
I
regular
was
people
like,
feel like. Isn't that
I
crazy?
know. I know. I was like, so like, I'm not supposed to be like super sad or like super, like, I just supposed to be like here. Like, I'm not supposed to be like one or the other. And she was like, probably. And I was like, well, that's weird. And so it took me a while to get used to just being level. So now occasionally, when it's time for my meds to get adjusted, I'm more likely to slip into a depressive spell than I am to get manic. Um, the depression, you use the word, is it scary? Mania doesn't scare me at all. It's delightful. The reason that I'm not one of those people that won't take their meds to risk them and to be manic is because like I never stay manic. I'm gonna get depressed so fast that it's not worth it. So I will gladly
Yeah.
take my meds and don't you
Yeah.
dare try and take them away from me.
I heard
The
that.
depression is what's scary
Yes.
is because even when I'm on medicine, I never know how low it's gonna get. I
Mm.
never know how long the depressive episode is going to last. I never know how deep it's going to get. It could be a very short depressive episode that can go from me feeling like regular, like I am today, to like literally wanting to die in 3 days, like 3 days from
Oof.
now. Like as soon as I start, I will end up in like a point where I'm like laying in my bed and I'm like, I could go to sleep and never wake up. And
Yeah.
then 4 days later, I'm back to regular.
You know,
But
you
in the meantime, I'm like fighting for that week and a half, or it could be 3 months of me just being moderately depressed. So the depression is scary because you don't know where it's going to go.
right. You know, you were the one that introduced me to the term carefully crafted cocktail of medications.
Yeah.
Now, we all of us take medication, so I will say that there are people out there that will try they will try different natural remedies and things like that, and I do not discourage that whatsoever. I say find what works for you and suits you. Um, and definitely make sure you're working with licensed and certified practitioners so that you're getting the best care and the best help for yourself
Yeah. I
whatsoever.
would love to be able to do that. I cannot. I
Yeah,
would
I realize.
probably not be either functioning or alive.
No, I
To
realize
be honest,
I
at this point.
yeah, but I mean that let's just keep it real. That's just it
Yeah.
because all of us and it's so funny because I not funny, but you know, I was sitting here thinking none of us knows what neurotypical people feel
I have no
because
clue.
we've never and the crazy part about I know we're and don't take offense to that people, but the wild thing about all of that is that because we have grown up this way and different things kicked off at different times of our lives, we have never known a neurotypical brain or a neurotypical life. So
And my
I
family is a bunch of people who are neurodivergent who refuse to accept it and or once they have accepted it later in life we recognize that we just didn't know. So I ran around thinking that like the ADHD that I now live with was regular because my whole family has it.
wow.
So I have no baseline.
So were
I
you the
just think that
first
the stuff I do is regular.
were you the first to get diagnosed?
No.
Oh, okay.
Uh-uh.
Okay. It's just it's wild to me because I don't know why, but for some reason when you just said all of that and I just came up and I was like, none of us know what that's like. This because we've been impacted by this all of our lives and we've all either tried to fit in or we tried to figure out how to live our lives and be authentic to ourselves, which is one thing I love about Lex. Like, she was like, okay, I know that I'm different, so I'm going to pick up on what it's going to take for me to interact with all these other people who are weird for me, but I don't feel I'm weird. I just, I'm just gonna figure out how to live with these people. And then I think about like you and I coming up, we didn't know. And so it was just, we're going through the motions. You just so happen to be surrounded by all of it. I don't know, honestly, if I was surrounded, but I, because I thought I was like everybody else, you develop neurotypical and ableist thinking until you realize you're not like everybody else. And now you have to rid your vocabulary, your thoughts, your everything else of thinking in that way, because that's not you and that's not your real connection. So just like our neurodivergence likes to collect other neurodivergence and comorbidities, we also like to collect each other. So we find each other.
Yeah, no, I don't think I have friends that are neurotypical.
I don't care what conference I go to. I don't care what networking events. Eventually, I'm going to find that one person out of 100 people that's in that room that's also neurodivergent. It's a guarantee now.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize
Yeah.
that. And I don't know. It's only since I've been diagnosed that I've kind of looked at people and started going,
Oh, yeah.
uh, it's
So
so
I
interesting.
All right, Lex, back to you and your
pivot.
questions.
I would like to pivot, please.
Yeah.
Okay,
We've talked about, Jazz, you sort of the things that you are coping with all the time on in a broader sense. We know about your little bucket of conditions that you've got that you're carrying around with you.
Oh, man.
You've kind of shared like what some of the bigger moments look like. I'm curious about, what does this look like for you day to day? You can touch on any part of it, the neurodivergence, the ADHD part. I know for the bipolar, for the most part, since you're medicating your medications at pretty good places, that doesn't impact you as much day to day, but correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. Nah, that's kind of like, I just vibe with that. That's like chill. I remember to take my medicine. Oh, that is one of the things that we can start. So one of the ways that my ADHD impacts me every day is I have to remember to take my medicine. Now, because I am on a carefully crafted cocktail of medications that is currently working, I have not worked past the fear that adding in medication for ADHD will not disrupt all of that.
Mm, mm,
I will likely tackle that at some point. Right now, I'm choosing not to. I'm choosing to cope as best I can.
that's fair.
So in the meantime, I would like to be happily stable. And so what that means is I do have to remember to take my medicine. So I have kind of what I do is create little systems that mostly work to help me cope with just the ADHD and remembering things. So patterns are really important for me. So I have a little pillowcase. I've shown Lex and she was like, I don't even know how you remember to do this. So I
For
have my
me, it's
little
not worth the
pillowcase.
effort to put the things in the
No.
pill case, but it's a
But
different
if I don't
minds.
put the things in the pill case, then I can't remember to take the pills. And then next thing I know,
I
I
have
feel terrible by the
multiple
end of the
alarms.
day, or I'm sad in the next 3 days and I don't understand why I feel terrible and I'm sad. And it's because I didn't take the medicine 3 days ago. So pill case with day
I
and
have
night.
multiple alarms set for me, so I get it. I do.
So, and that's another thing. So it's a whole battle of learning what works and what doesn't. So root patterns work really well for me. So for a lot of the things I do every day, I have naturally built in certain patterns. So patterns of just daily living, patterns for taking my meds. Do I remember to brush my teeth? Do I remember to shower? Do I remember to pack my lunch on the days I have to go to work? How do I make sure that I don't forget my laptop? Building in little patterns as much as I can. And I know it probably doesn't always look like it because I do forget everything all the time. But there are building in the patterns does help to prevent me from like losing things as like even more than I could in general. So if there's like a way I can create a habit around things, I try and do that. Because the more routine something is, the more second nature it is, and then the more likely I am to just do it. So like in the morning, like when I get dressed, if it's a day that I have to leave the house, I get up, like go to brush my teeth, do all the things. I get dressed. I know that before I leave my bedroom, once I'm fully dressed, I sit on the edge of my bed. I open my pillowcase. I take the medicine that's under the little sun for the daytime. I flip it around to the nighttime. I close the pillowcase. I put the pillowcase back. And then I walk out of my room. I call my dog. I walk out of the room. And then that way I know I've literally done everything I need to do before I exit my room. And I know I'm safe and I haven't forgotten anything. I know I'm good to go. I come down the stairs every morning. I make coffee. I take the dog out. I come back inside. I do whatever it is I need to do from there. So like creating patterns is really helpful for me where I can. The problem then arises is establishing new patterns. New patterns are very hard. So sometimes it's kind of like I have to like trick myself into falling into a new pattern. I have to like gradually add one piece at a time. I can't just like revamp the whole thing and expect it to stick. Like the whole coffee and then dog thing happened by accident. And it's truly just because I need coffee. It takes time for that to happen. So if I don't want to sit there and stare at the coffee pot, I'll take the dog outside and then I come back and I have coffee. So like trying to like trick myself into like little things like that has helped. Sometimes ADHD feels like you're constantly playing a game with yourself. You're constantly trying to like game your brain into like making something work.
Yeah, they tried gamification with me and that didn't go over too well. Because I don't like, so when I was a salesperson, like they would always say, strive to achieve this goal and you can get a bonus of X number of dollars. And I was like, I don't care. Like, so reward system like that didn't necessarily work for me. So I'm still discovering, we all have to discover what works for us.
Rewards don't work for me because I will just decide that I don't need the reward.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
I will opt out of the activity.
Yeah. But I was going to say,
deadlines are helpful for me.
Y'all can't figure out who's talking to me, and it's very funny.
There's a delay going on right now, so I apologize, everybody. There's a little bit of a delay going on. Go ahead, Jazzy.
Oh, my bad. I was going to say deadlines are helpful for me because then I feel pressure to get it done before the deadline. Task importance is very helpful. The more important it is, the more likely I am to get it done by the deadline that it's assigned. What I've learned about you, Shai, is that my ADHD is greatly assisted by my generalized anxiety. So my generalized anxiety would never allow me to function with the level of demand avoidance with which you function. There is a degree of it that I function with daily, but like I watch you do some stuff and I'm like, I could never. And it's because I'm too anxious to do that.
And that's the funny thing about how it all impacts us differently, right? Because for me, reward systems don't work. I struggle with routine. But part of what you talked about, and this is something I just wanted to throw out there for those that are listening, Atomic Habits is a really great book that talks about how to do what Jazz is talking about. So connecting an activity to another activity so you can get the activities done. So the Atomic Habits was interesting because I was able to then associate and layer certain things, which is kind of like what you do, Jazz. And so for a lot of us, that can help. Gamification can help. I'm going to make it fun. I'm going to make sure, I check off what I've done for the day. There's a lot of different tips that can be done. And in future, we'll have people on that can help us with understanding those systems and processes. But it does take time to learn. And it takes time to get our brains rerouted.
I'm not sure
if you will, or retrained.
Did I answer that question, Lex? Or is there another way you could prompt me through that to answer that better?
Yeah, and because I have another one. I have another one that kind of digs into it a little bit more. So one question I had in particular about how it affects your day to day is because we know that you had a little career pivot. So you are still a nurse, but you're no longer working at the bedside. So I would imagine that your day to day looks a lot different. So how did you manage that then, since you need patterns, you need habits, and now every pattern and habit is completely different because you're doing a totally different job now? How did that come into
That
play?
was fun for like a good couple months. There was a couple months of me just being like, oh no, what do I do now? So I think for me, what definitely, you mentioned that I am very much like a note taker. So it was a lot of like observing other people's patterns, other people's routine and how they did things. The other helpful thing is that my job is very much cyclical. Everything happens, like the same things happen every month. So like the same things happen every 30 days. So
Okay.
once I learned that, it took a few months to like get that down. And then watching how other people did things, trying my own things. Eventually I kind of landed on what made sense to my brain. And then was able to then establish that. I have, once I got that down, I have written it down. So now every month I make the same checklist for myself. I have it saved on my computer. But because I like to write things down, I also have a particular way that I take notes every month. So that I am able to write down what every project that I'm working on is, what phase it is in, what are my notes for each phase, what are like each things I need to do every month. I put little check boxes. So I very much have narrowed it down to a highly specific way that I do things in the same way every month. The perfectionist in me also would prefer that once I figure that out, that people don't bother it. That just like leave me alone to follow my little pattern. Once I have the pattern is proved effective. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. You touch it, you break it, you buy it. Except for nobody wants to buy it. So don't touch it.
So I am curious about, ADHD, you need some dopamine hits. And when you were at the bedside, you had a lot more of a dynamic job happening. And now you work at a desk. Now you're looking like me with a desk job. How did you manage that? I would imagine some boredom was coming into play. How did you deal with that?
I do get bored. I try and switch up the tasks that I do during the day sometimes if I can. When I get to a certain phase in my work cycle where I'm stuck with the same task, then it kind of looks like getting up to wander around the office for a second, or giving myself 5 minutes to play a game on my phone. I try and keep I try and keep a podcast or something that I like to listen to. Either will have one that I currently have one I'm binging. Or I have like ones that come out that I've caught up on that come out weekly.
It's not ours.
I said you binging one
because I'm
but
caught
it ain't
up,
our show.
Waiting for new episodes.
I just let Jazz is always sitting me. Have you listened to this podcast? Have you listened? And I'm like, no, I haven't. Okay, so she's
so I listen to
podcasts.
I will put on documentaries because my boss doesn't really care. So, but I mean, also documentaries you can kind of listen to. I don't have to watch it. I could just put it on subtly at my desk and listen to it. So I kind of create dopamines that way. I schedule a coffee break around 2 p.m. So then, but I can't, the rule is that I cannot take the coffee break any sooner than 1 o'clock. So.
Why the rule?
Because
that seems very arbitrary.
then
Why
I have the dopamine hit too early. So it's like a reward for working hard until then. Because if I schedule it any
Wow.
earlier than that, then I have nothing to look forward to for the rest of the day. I find that 1 p.m. is good because then it gets me through till 4. It's enough dopamine to get me through till 4. So I get a special coffee. And I also get a nice snack at that time too. So sometimes it's fruit, sometimes it's a dessert. So I have to do little things like that to like keep me engaged. So not work related. It's all other little pleasure sensory things that keep me engaged because I don't have the same level of like sensory engagement working a desk job that I did working the bedside. There's also 0 life or death, so there's 0
stuff
adrenaline.
like that is why that part. You're not trying to save nobody's life day to day. That kind of stuff is why I say you work at an adult daycare, because you be scheduling your little snack breaks and little games, and you just be watching TV. Your life is different.
Yeah.
Jazz works for a children's hospital, so she kind of was always at a daycare of some sort in some way. So it was never. Yeah. If you work in pediatrics, I imagine it has to be.
You got kids running around. You gotta. Can't be too. What's the word? I don't know. The word that's coming to mind is morose, but I don't think that's the right one. So anyway, continue on.
That feels like a heavier word than what we're looking for, but you definitely don't want to be morose.
Do continue. What else would you like to know about me?
So if you're having like a harder day coping with any of the things that we've talked about, what does support look like for you?
I think it depends. Sometimes it's just me being able to reach out and like tell somebody that I'm dysregulated. Like, since we were just talking about work, I can think of like one day that I was just having a week, and I can't tell you why I was so dysregulated that week, but I was. But I remember texting you and Shy and just being like, you know what you guys should make an episode about? When you're so dysregulated that you're like 30 seconds from an ADHD crash out.
I do remember that.
I have not yet learned that for myself. So.
I was like having a weird week. And I was sitting at my desk. Everybody was in the office that day. Everybody was talking to everybody. I had in my noise canceling headphones. I was doing all the things that I possibly could. Like everything that I could, except for going outside and physically touching grass, like to try and calm myself down. I was literally about to stand up in the middle of my like office and be like, "Shut up!" But because that could result in a call to HR, then I said, "You know what?" As soon as I sent that text message to you guys, I was like, "Ooh, we should move." Like, I'm talking to myself. I don't know. I was like, but I was like, move. Like, you got to get away from this desk. So I like just like quietly closed my laptop, got up, found the quietest room I could find. I went to a like, we call them like huddle rooms. That was like off of the beaten path, where like I knew there would be light foot traffic. I didn't even want to see people's feet walking by. That's how like dysregulated I was in that moment.
Wow.
I went to the quietest corner that I could find in the nearest stairwell that I knew nobody used, turned off the lights, closed the door. Thankfully, there was like a downdraft from the AC, so it created white noise, and I had brought my coffee in there, and I just like opened my laptop and set it down and just sat there and drank my coffee for the next hour and a half. So just being able to like in that moment text you guys and be like, "Oh, I'm having a hard day. I'm feeling very dysregulated and I'm going to crash out." And then I think Lex was like, "Well, friend, maybe you should try and find a quiet room." And I was like, "You're right. I'm gonna do that." And then I went and did those things, and I felt better. Or if I'm having a day where like Shy said, your mom says you're alphabeting all over the place, just No, I'm doing my best. Like, I just need people to understand that I'm trying really hard. There's a solid chance that I know that this isn't going well. But what I need right now is to not be judged for how not well this is going. I just need you to be like,
Yes.
woo, 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 woo. You want me to hold that cup for you before you spill it everywhere like you spilled the other two? Yes? Great.
That's so Lex.
And I'll be like, thank you.
That is so Lex.
Or just like, so just like, for me, support looks like understanding that
Okay.
I'm not going to do it perfect. I'm probably going to do it in a way that's different than what somebody else thinks is right. I'm probably going to do it in my own way that may or may not make sense. Trust that I will end up at an appropriate answer, even though it didn't look pretty getting there. And just be support. I like the way I heard someone say like radical acceptance. And I was listening to someone who was talking about having ADHD, and they use it in context to themselves, being like, we need to reach a point of like radical acceptance of ourselves and who we are, so that we stop trying to adjust to standards that don't really fit, or ways of doing things that don't fit how our brains naturally work with like neurodivergent. So sometimes it is nice in hard moments to know that your friends are going to have a degree of radical acceptance. Like being able to say, I'm having a hard time, and they are going to be able to radically accept whatever disorganized thought pattern or behavior you're having in that moment. And then later they can be like, now, girlfriend, why you do that? But in the moment, just be there to hug you and help you through is just comforting to me, I think.
Okay. Okay, so it seems like you had to really get to a point of understanding what you needed when you are dealing with something. Is there anything else that you feel like you're still figuring out about yourself and your neurodivergence or your mental health, or just any of this that you're just still trying to work through? Maybe had to unlearn or anything like that?
I still think that I'm unlearning some like norms, societal or cultural norms in certain way. As women, there's certain things that we're expected to do. We're expected to be good at keeping house. We're expected to be good at organize. We're expected to be good at knowing how to like plan and feed ourselves and our family. We're expected to be good at, things like that. We're expected to be good at knowing how to have ourselves put together. I'm still working at accepting and learning to be okay with the fact that I'm probably not the person that's going to ever have it together. And that's not bad. It's not a bad thing. That is not a character flaw. It is not a character flaw for me to not be able to organize anything to save my life. Like, it is not a character flaw for me to like not be able to have my clothes folded and put away in 3 to 5 business days. Like, these are not character flaws. They are things that are a result of the way my brain is wired, that they're challenges for me. They're not a reflection on who I am. And people are going to have to understand that these are struggles for me, in the same way somebody who has like diabetes or something like that, people understand that if their blood sugar drops, they better hand them some orange juice or throw a Snickers at them. Like,
not those Snickers.
just chuck a Snickers at them, man. But like, you have to understand that this is like, I have to be okay with being able to advocate for myself in that way. just being like, hey, I know this looks like wild, but I'm trying, and you don't get to hold this against me in any way, but I'm learning not to hold it against myself so I can advocate for myself in that way. So unlearning some of those things that we are, oh shoot, what's the word? Um,
Pressured,
yeah, one of those.
indoctrinated.
Um, the word that keeps coming into my head is like culturized, and that's not even a word. There it is. Socialized.
Socialized?
Thank you.
Not culturalized.
So that's another fun thing about my ADHD is it doesn't remember words.
It don't. It's the
It's
hoot. It's
never the
never the
right
right word.
word.
It's something. It's funny.
It's unlearning some of the things that we are socialized to believe, and
Mm,
learning that those things are not character flaws. They are simply things that I have to learn to do a little bit differently.
mm, mm. I can appreciate you making that part kind of clear. Just like, look, y'all, this ain't gonna look like what it look like for you. You're gonna have to just be okay with that. I think that's something that
Mm-hmm.
comes with time and
Mm-hmm.
self-acceptance. And as your friend, I have watched you come into more and more. And listen, we
Mm-hmm.
tell the truth on this show. We've had whole conversations that have
Mm-hmm.
not gone that well because of me not necessarily giving you that same respect and dignity of just like you are doing something different.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean it's wrong
Mm-hmm.
just because I
Yeah.
wouldn't do it that way. So I can appreciate that honesty with that too. Just like, hey, this not gonna look like this for me, and you need to just be okay with
Yeah.
that or going over
And
there somewhere. That going over there somewhere
yeah, yeah,
energy is
yeah.
important.
And I think because I hadn't even made it to the point I am now with being able to accept that things look different for me, and reaching a point of acceptance in like having to do things a little bit differently, I didn't even have the words to,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say defend myself, but to advocate for myself. That's the word. Advocate for myself. Um, to even be like, hey, I hear you. I respect you. I understand what you're saying, but that's not like a realistic expectation for me. So I didn't even have the
Mm-hmm.
words to level set to where I could have even made that conversation go better. Um, so there's a lot of it that has to start personally.
Mm-hmm. Shai, you have any questions you got brewing in your head about this?
No, I'm just sitting here because um it's shedding a whole new light. This is the one of the things that makes this podcast special is because we've really all gotten to know each other on such a different level and a much deeper level than us just sitting around talking about our lives and what we're dealing with, right? Um and I have such an appreciation for you, Jazzy, when it comes to how you too, Lex, because both you guys did a lot of research. You've walked through a lot of this. Granted, you've been dealing with some of this longer than I have, but you've walked through, you've done your research, you've analyzed certain things. So I'm just sitting here literally taking notes mentally and literally on things. Um, So let me ask you this, Jazz, in that sense, because this is where where I think we might connect. What are some things that you are still trying to figure out about yourself and everything that you're dealing with? Because I feel like there's always going to be stuff for us to figure out. I don't know if Lex feels the same way, but I don't think there's ever a point that we reach where it's like, okay, I got it. I understand everything about
Mm-hmm.
all of this. Do you feel that way, or
Yeah.
do you feel like there's still more that you want to
I
learn?
feel like there's stuff that I'm always going to keep learning. Um, that's just kind of me as a person is I feel like there's always more to learn. Um, now, as I'm learning with my new therapist, part of that could just be perfectionism that we're working on. So, but anyway, another conversation for a different day. But I like to learn. I think that part of ADHD is always going to be a little bit of trial and error, because part of what makes it great, also challenging, is that you kind of thrive on novelty, right? So you kind of have to keep coming up with ways to make sure that you're getting you're being effective with how you're doing things in life, but you also have to always find little ways to create little dopamine hits for yourself, you know? So I think right now, a big thing that I'm working on is trying to figure out how to better live with ADHD, like practically. So I feel, and I'm working on getting better with like the emotional side of things. Practically, still a mess. I have like, it's like the basics that keep me alive go okay. Most of the time, like I did just tell Lex a whole story before we got on here about like how I forgot to pay the mortgage until like 2 days before it was like past due. And so next thing I know, I was running around between banks, like because I didn't have enough time to like transfer between banks because it takes like 5 to 7 days, and I haven't figured out how to like set up 2 different Zelle accounts. Nor had enough attention span to apply myself to figure out how to hack the system, because there's like a way to do it without like locking down one of your bank accounts. I just haven't had enough attention span to apply myself to do that. So I'm like running around 48 hours before like the mortgage is due, withdrawing like money from one bank account, like being like, then the anxiety kicks in and I'm like, don't get robbed, don't get robbed, don't get robbed, don't get robbed. As I'm driving 5 minutes up the street to the other bank, putting the money in the ATM, like, don't get robbed, don't get robbed, don't get robbed. And then like as soon as the money is in the ATM, I'm like, phew. The whole time I'm listening to like a true crime podcast, like riding around being like, don't get robbed, don't get robbed, don't get robbed, like hiding hundreds of dollars. Like, yeah. So like that's like the ADHD tax. That's the ADHD tax that I pay like on the regular. And so like those are the kind of things that I want to work on avoiding. I know that it's unrealistic to think that I'll always avoid them, because that's never going to happen. Like I'm always going to end up in a situation like that. But the frequency with which it happens, I want to learn how to practically do that better. So yeah, that's what I'm working on, I think, right now. Great.
We're going to wrap up, because I know we've had you on here for a while. We did not expect to have you for 2 hours. So
that's okay. I've had a good time. So thank you guys.
I'm so happy. Here's my final question for you. What is like maybe a key thing you want people to take away from our conversation with you?
That is a very hard question. I think that would probably be okay with all the extras. Like, be okay with all the extra things that you might find along the way. Like, I found out I had bipolar, and then I found out I had ADHD. Like, don't be afraid of the extra labels. Don't be afraid of all the extra little nuances about yourself that you find. It's only going to help you later. So don't be afraid to find out more. Don't be like, oh, okay, well, I'm not going to ask any questions because I don't want to find out more. Don't be an ostrich and shove your head in the sand. Go ahead, find it out, because that's the only way that it gets better.
I like that answer. Don't be afraid of the extras. I was like, where's she going with that? What are the extras? Yeah, I think
everything else that you said, I'm carrying around in a bucket, as you put it so fittingly.
Yeah, I was like,
everything else.
I'm like, it wasn't even a nice purse or backpack. It's a bucket.
No,
it's heavy.
No, that joint is a bucket.
It's heavy. You carry things you like in your purse. You carry your lipstick in there. You don't be carrying stuff in a bucket that you like to keep, really. Some stuff you be like, I'm ready to throw this over there. I certainly see my chronic depression in a bucket.
Neurodivergent, though. But I like what you said there too, Jazzy, and I think that that's really important because that's a part of the self-acceptance, right? This is just who we are, and we're okay exactly as we are. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. You know? And I think the faster you get there, the better things go. I kind of think with each one of the things I found along the way, I went through a phase of trying to deny that little part of me. So like my takeaway comes from experience, and if I could tell past me a thing, that would be the thing I want to tell past me. So like getting diagnosed with bipolar, that was a label I definitely didn't want. Then getting diagnosed with ADHD, it was like, okay, so then this is all the ways that things are wrong with me. This is all the ways that like I behave, that things are wrong with me. Getting diagnosed with anxiety, I knew that one, so that was fine. But then I've known that one since I was like 5, so that was okay. But then to like all the other little things along the way was like, oh God, there's another thing wrong with me. So yeah, so just learn, roll with it. Take your time, feel your feelings, feel the big things, and be okay with the extras.
I like that. There's nothing wrong with being extra.
Nah.
Shy saying nothing wrong with being extra.
I don't know.
We know she thinks
I don't know if I'm extra. I just have a lot of extras.
And Shy is just extra. Different things. Different things.
And on that note...
No, thank you so much, Jazz, for letting us take up so much of your time and sharing with us and letting people hear your full story so we can just stop talking about you like some handsome member of the group.
But we'll have you back on again because, like you said, there's so much more to explore and to talk about. And I think it'll be great to have you back on. So at some point, you know, like Lex and I talked about our relationship as friends, but, you know, talking about what it's like to be in this circle of friends, I think would be something really interesting because like we talked about before, we might have the same diagnosis, but we deal with it in different ways. And then, you know, we have all these different friends that we have that have different neurodivergence. So how do we work together and get along and all that kind of stuff? I think will be a really interesting topic. So we want to thank everyone. If this story resonated with you, please like, comment, share. Give us some interaction and engagement on whatever platforms that you're listening to us on. Don't hesitate to email us too at bgbgsquirrel@gmail.com or to leave us comments at fanlist.com/BGBG Squirrel. We would love to hear from you. And for those of you that have reached out to us privately, thank you very much. For all the people we're picking up around the world, we're finding new destinations every week. Lex is like, hey, we just got picked up in Bosnia. And I'm like, okay.
What's up, Bosnia homies?
Another one. Yeah, then another one was Israel, and then another one was like Russia and Ukraine. I'm like, all of these countries are at war. Why are they listening to us? So maybe we're bringing some normalcy to them. I don't know. That's wild. But thank you so much for listening to us wherever you are. We appreciate all of our squirrel family.
What to do, Russia and Ukraine?
Yep. Shout out to everybody around the world.
I'm going to shut up. I'm sorry, y'all.
So
ruined your outro.
Wherever you are and wherever you're listening from, we really appreciate it. Okay, so here's the wild thing, you guys. There is such a lag in the internet right now. I don't even know what Jazzy is saying, so I just know she was talking while I was talking. So yeah, that's kind of like how our neurodivergence works. We're just all over the place. All the tabs are open and we don't know what they're all saying, but they're working and talking to each other. But anyway, thank you all for listening. Thank you, Jazzy, for being here. And squirrels, we'll see you next week. Bye. Thanks for hanging out with us today. We'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions or topics you'd like for us to cover in our podcast, please don't hesitate to let us know. You can send us a message on our fan page at fanlist.com/BGBG squirrel. That's fanlist.com/BGBG squirrel.